Hello. Can you can you hear me just fine?
Hey, there's a bit of a delay going on here, so apologies. Hi
What
everyone.
big delay?
Um,
I'm gonna
yeah,
hop off.
yeah, I've got this thing going on where I've got you in the backstage, and I can hear myself talking. So
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The delay is pretty massive. I think I'm counting 5 seconds. So I'm gonna hop off, and I'm gonna let you continue because I don't think we can actually
so
talk with 5 seconds of delay.
yeah, I'm listening to myself talk back now. So what I'm going to do, uh, right, okay. Yeah, it's terrible. So can I mute myself now, or right? What I'm going to do is carry on like this, but I'm going to mute the tab. There we go. Unmute. Okay, cool. Right, that's cool. Let's go and share my screen. So I'm going to share screen 1 here. Right, I'm going to take the headphones off because I can still hear myself back on here. So I was going to do this without listening to it. So, hey everyone, and thanks for having me, Monarch, and thanks for sorting me out in the backstage here, Jennifer. So let's get cracking with my slides. So sure you've all seen the info for the talk. It's the Markdown Showdown. So I had to come up with a name for it. I'll come on to that in a minute. So let's just talk about me quickly. My name is Scott Spence. I've been a professional web developer since 2018. I'm an analyst developer for 10 years prior to that. Working at large financial organizations such as Barclays, Fidelity, and Deloitte. I'm married. I have a wife and a daughter. You probably just heard them on the mic there. And I'm also a cat dad. So that's Boris, Leo, and Darcy there. Just a little bit more about me before we continue. Some shameless plugs. I am one half of the Whiskey Wednesday podcast with Mark Bacchus. You can catch us every other Wednesday. Next episode is October the 7th. You can catch us on YouTube or any of your favorite podcast providers. I work at a company called KARMARAMA, part of the Accenture Interactive Group. We're responsible for such adverts you see here in the UK as like the Army, Lidl, which is like a grocery store here, and Guide Dogs for the Blind. I work in creative products, working with clients like Tesco's, Sainsbury's. They're both grocery stores here in the UK, and British Telecom, EDF and SSE. They're both energy suppliers. So I'm not sure what I can talk about. I can't really go into much details about the what we've been working on with those. So I'll say nothing. Okay, let's talk about the title of the talk and what it could have been. So it could have been Uptown with Markdown, Downtown with Markdown, Splashdown with Markdown, Don't Frown with Markdown, or Get the Markdown Crown. So all pretty bad titles, but I sort of had to come up with something which was catchy, as you do with most sort of content you put out there these days. So there you go, Markdown Showdown. So icebreakers and shameless plugs out of the way. Let's talk about Markdown. So this talk didn't exist last week, and it was born out of a chat I had with Ro, developer relations here at Mintbean. So I was encouraging Ro to own her own content for like her blog posts and sort of build her own platform for writing. I understand Ro's not feeling well today, so I hope you're feeling better soon, Ro. So this came out of me saying something along the lines of, Gatsby is awesome because you can write your content with Markdown and it's usable on many different platforms. And Ro's response was, I haven't used Markdown. So that's awesome. Thank you, Ro. Now I'm here sharing what I know with everyone on Mintbean. So I hope that you all learned something along the way here, and I just get to talk about something which I use daily. So essentially, Markdown is a way to format your text like you would in Microsoft Word, let's say, without using the toolbar to select for like making things bold or italic. The goal for Markdown was to enable easy to read and write text in a plain text format that can be converted to HTML. I'll go into some of that in a bit, but yeah, it's just an easy way to write lots of prose which can be understood both in plain text format and it looks nice in your browser. So you'll see Markdown being used in places like GitHub, GitLab, Jira, also places like Discord, Slack, Stack Overflow, Reddit, or use some form of Markdown. You can also use Markdown in WhatsApp to an extent. You can sort of bold and italicize stuff in there. You can also use code blocks as well, which we'll come on to in a bit. You know, whole documentation sites use Markdown, all of GitHub and places like that. So these slides are also written in Markdown. So I've got them. I've got the slides over here, which are all written in Markdown in a tool called Markdown in MDX, I think. So I love it. I like using it. So I'm hoping that there's some parts of it which I can share, which you can get a bit of, you know, additional information from. So Markdown's been around for a while. John Gruber, I think he runs Daring Fireball, who originally posted this back in 2004 on Daring Fireball. Yeah, I mean, let's just get into it. I'm going to talk about tooling for this. It's not a workshop, but for this sort of demo, I'll be using my Markdown editor of choice, which is VS Code. So in here, can I just do a new, make this a, how do we do the language? Language, and we'll make this Markdown. So I'll be using VS Code. There are other tools out there. There's some pretty good ones, which I'll bring up in this slide. There's Markdown Forge by, what's the guy's name? Justin Juno, and there's StackEdit as well. So Markdown Forge is a pretty simplistic tool where you have your Markdown on the left and your parsed Markdown on the right here. It's a pretty neat tool. And there's also StackEdit. Now this thing is a really fully featured Markdown editor, and I'll be switching to this for some parts of this talk because it's so great at doing its job. But what I will say for Markdown in general is that just use the tooling you're happy with. So for me, I prefer to write my Markdown in VS Code. Like I say, there's plenty of tools out there to write your Markdown, but just use what you're most comfortable with. I've done a like a YouTube video in the past about something called a second brain. It's a Zettelkasten. It's just like a way to take your notes. And at the time, there were a few tools kicking about for this sort of thing. There's one called Rome Research. You may have heard of that. And Notion, it's a great tool. And there was one called Obsidian. And the basis of all these apps is just you writing Markdown. And I sort of iterated through Obsidian. Well, it was Notion first, then Rome Research, then Obsidian, and now I use something called Foam. And Foam is just a collection of VS Code extensions. And this is why I'm using Foam now, because I'm most comfortable in VS Code, which is my text editor of choice. You can use other text editors. Let me hydrate a second. Like what are brackets, Sublime Text, and Atom. Use any of them. They've all got great Markdown tooling in them. But I'm going to be using VS Code. So what are we doing for slides here? Right, let's talk about paragraphs and text decoration in Markdown. So this is a paragraph. Let me just highlight this in VS Code. So at the moment, it's showing this as Markdown for the specified language. So that's let's hide that. Let's hide these tabs with that. So this is a paragraph. Okay, I'm not sure if you can hear my keyboard, so apologies if you don't like clickety-clack sounds. So that's cool, but in VS Code, there is this bit over to the side. Let's bump this text up a bit here. Right, in VS Code, you've got this split screen here, where you can see your rendered Markdown. So that's cool. There's a couple of gotchas, though, with how you write your paragraphs. So this is also a paragraph, but it's on the same line as it's rendered. So if you want to separate out your paragraphs, you need to give it a clear, like the parser, a clear indication of it being a new paragraph. So you just do that with a line break. So if I hit save, let's just call this, I'll save this. So yeah. And then hopefully that's not going to mess up my presentation, because I'm literally saving it into my presentation. Okay, so paragraphs, cool. That's fun and all. So there's also text decoration in Markdown. So to make something bold, it's double asterisk, which will make it bold. Now, this can be quite confusing, where you can also do double underscore, and this will also make it bold. But I use a bit of tooling called Prettier, which is just a code formatter, and Prettier has decreed that for bold, it's double asterisks, and we could make this paragraph italic with single underscores. So if we do double underscores, it's just a double, the double notation with either one. So depending on your text editor, let's take a quick look at stack edit, wherever that is gone, and then see if we can do something similar in here. So I'm going to skip that and delete all of this, and apologize for the white theme. Oh my God. Default settings, color theme light. So I want color theme dark, right? Is it colon? Okay. Ooh, better. Right. Fantastic. Let's make this a bit bigger too. Just totally lost my train of thought. Why did I come here in the first place? Oh yeah. Right. So let's just snaffle this from here and then see how. I'm just trying to illustrate the differences between parsers basically. So see how it likes. It's got them both bold on here, and it's just italicized it. So I don't think there is any automatic formatting you can use in Stack Edit. Okay, so it's just a notation is double of one makes it bold, and then single of another will make it italic. Right, painfully out of the way with that one. There's also strike through. Let's go back to my text editor. So strike through, double tilde, and I've never known it to. So my editor is also showing it a strike through on here too. So single tilde is just going to have a tilde around either side of it. So that's pretty cool. And I think that's it for text decoration. Next up would be headings. So I've already demonstrated there's a couple of ways to do things with text decoration. It's not any different with headings as well. So if we take a look at some headings, so there's a couple of ways to do a heading. So you've probably seen this as heading 1, but there's also this triple equal, which would be heading 1, and you can use that for heading 2. Heading 2, which is triple hyphens, but that's all you get, just a heading 1 and a heading 2. What you'll see more commonly is the use of hashes, pounds, for headings all the way up to heading 6, like you do with HTML. So 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, let's do these. Boom, 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 boom. And then we'll get our nice headings rendered in our parser over here. So this is a bit of a theme with the different ways to do things in Markdown. So that's it for headings. You'll also notice in when you have this sort of layout with your headings, let's take a look at it in Stack Edit. If I put these in here and then inspect one of these elements over here, so I'm just going to pop open the developer tools and then try and inspect this. So this will have it as a H2, but you also see it gets assigned an ID, and we can do that all the way down to heading 6. So the reason why I'm showing you this is because these headings can be used in links, which we're going to come into now. Let's do it now. So links in Markdown, you've probably seen links done. Well, again, there's several ways to do links. Let's just take a quick look at, let's leave a heading in here. It's actually, right, links. So you can just put in a raw link like this, which will render your link like that. But if your parser doesn't support that, then you can put it in angle brackets around either side of it. And then that will tell the parser that it's like an external link it needs to render for the Markdown. Okay, so links are cool, and you can also do was it like identify a link in Markdown. Just copy pasting now. So let's just move this over here. So the way you do a link in Markdown is you'd have your identifier, and then the actual link in parentheses over to the side here. So I'm just going to copy this and then put that in here. And that will convert it to a link. So you'll notice that it was already blue before I even put a link in there. So it'd just be like it wouldn't point to anywhere. It probably just reload the page if you clicked on it. So there's that. And then you can also add in titles, which I only learned about when I started getting the information together for this course. So on here, you can also put in quotes. Title, and if you hover over it, you'll get a little title for your link as well, which is pretty cool. So this reference here, this is nice, but having, like, say you've got a really long link after it, it doesn't lend well to the like the reading experience. So this is quite a short link, but you could have like really long links in there, and it can get quite disorienting when you're trying to read through, like, parse your Markdown, and that's what it's meant to be for. It's meant to be easy to read. So there's references you can add to these links here as well. So they are done with. Let's just get this out here. You can do it two ways. You can have a link like this, and say this is one, and then further down in your documentation, I like to do it like links, have a HTML comment. So this is Markdown and HTML can be used interchangeably, but limited. It's limited on what HTML you can use within Markdown, and I don't really know off the top of my head what that is. So let's just go back to this example here. So we have this link here. So if we reference this against our link here, and then we get rid of these parentheses and just put in a colon and get rid of that at the end, you see that disappear. And then this is now my link here. So I find this really helpful with if you've got a lot of prose and a lot of links in your documentation. What I also find much better than having like random links next to your random references next to your links is you can just get rid of this and then use that reference. Then that will just be the same reference there, which is I'm going to cancel that. What I prefer, and I think it just makes a much nicer reading experience. So I think that's it for links. But let's just go back to stack edit here, and we've got our headings, and then let's get a bit of prose. Tipsum to the rescue here. Let's just get a big paragraph. Wow, these are massive. Let's just grab that one. Right. I'm sorry for the light theme. Let's put this in between heading 1 and heading 2. Like that. So why am I doing this? Okay, so this is just to show the navigation on. So if you've got a large document, we'll do a table of contents. You could link to heading 2 here. So you could have your TOC, but I'm just going to do a link and to heading 2 because I've got no imagination. And then this would just be referencing heading 2 like this. You remember we took a look at the IDs in the dev tools. So now clicking on this in here should scroll me to the bottom here. So That's how you would do, like say you've got a really big document with, you want to add a table of contents. That is how you would sort of add your headings. One thing to note is if you use like special characters in your headings, so let's have heading like ampersand, that would then, the parser just ignores that, and then I think that would just be like a double hyphen here, and that should still work. There you go. So just certain things to note when you're writing like a large document with a big table of contents in it. And there are tools in VS Code where you can sort of generate a table of contents for that sort of thing. Cool. How are we doing for time? Half an hour. Wow. Right. What have we got after headings? Not headings. Headings, links, images. Right. So images are along the same lines as links. So these are my slides, by the way. This image here is just from Pixum, and this is the markdown for it. And you'll notice again, it's very similar to using links, but there's just this exclamation at the start here. So let's just jack this from here, see if it'll work in my text editor here. Make this a bit smaller. Let's just get rid of that for now. Paste this in here, and then we have our link. And yeah, you notice with hover, I get the tooltip information. So it's the same sort of thing where you can have like a title for your tooltip, for your image. So, and again, this alt, so Jack Domlo is going to be doing a talk on accessibility. And this is the alt for the image, as you would get in normal HTML. You should absolutely include this in here. It's very important. But the same thing goes for this. Images are going to be like block elements, so it's not a big deal. But again, if it's a really long URL, it does sort of interfere with your like the flow of your document. So again, I would like to do something like this, and if I could actually spell images, that'd be good. So I would have this down here, but I wouldn't have the exclamation. I'll just do a colon for the reference to it, and then have that. So then you could have and then you could have lots of other pros after that as well. So I just think it lends nicer to a reading experience, which it should be. So you just see me hitting save there, and Pretty has done its thing. It's just crumpled all this up so it'll fit into my the sort of width of my text editor here. Okay, so how are we doing in the chat? Is there anything going on in here? Right. So images done, and then also remember that because this is just, you can do HTML editing for images in here as well. For this being Pixum, I've just specified like pixel width and height, but you could do that in let's say an image. Let's find an image in here. Image. Right, you could just do some sort of styling like this. I'm not sure how this will work because just try bring that source and 3 cats. Let's have a Pixum and get rid of that and that and that. There you go. Cool. Cool. So, and then you would add things in here, I guess. Yep, there you go. So you just alter it that way. So there's that option with images. And if you wanted to, you could also link this out to like its own image, and you could open it up externally. But I think I've chanced it enough just trying to put that image in there like that. Right, what have we got next? Lists. Lists. This is like all developers do. There's a good quote from Ken Wheeler. And that quote was, as developers, all we do is just make lists of stuff. He actually swore, but I'm not going to swear. And keeping in sort of in a theme with the rest of the Markdown ways to do things, there's several ways to do a list. So you can do it with asterisks. You can also do it with hyphens, and it looks like my editor is hyphens, and pluses. And my editor is just doing what it feels like doing. So, but you'll notice that they all get rendered out as just a disk here. You will see that my editor tried to help me out by indenting stuff. But if I hit save, pretty just like, yeah, we're going to use a hyphen here and a hyphen here. But it's different here when you nest it. So how this is nested will totally depend on your Markdown parser and how deep that goes with that as well. I haven't actually sort of tested how deep that goes, but that's just another way to do things in Markdown. So there's that, and there's also ordered lists. And again, ordered lists, let's just grab this, copy pasta for the win. Ordered lists all use the same number, 1. But you notice over here, 1, 2, and 3. This is because, and it's my parser here my editor trying to help me here, but it's not. So if that was what you said it was 2, and I want to move this up here, it's doing a good job of actually ordering them for me, but I keep them all as 1, because then if there's another item if it's a very big list and there's another item you need to add in, you're going to have to go through and sort of rename them all. But maybe I should have gone in with a like a default VS Code, because I think I've got an extension here which is helping me with this incrementing the numbers here. But for lists, 1, use a 1 in Markdown, and it will number it for you. There is one thing which I didn't quite get with when I was using Roam Research, was if I had like what's going on here, like a lot of information I wanted to add in after like one step on a list, it didn't quite look right. Let's just get in some of the some pros again here. We don't need that much. Wow. Yikes. Sorry for the text wall. Let's just try and right, it's just have like one sort of paragraph. Yeah, you'll see that it doesn't look great in this list like this. It's all about the indentation. And hit save. So it can be a bit fiddly sometimes, but that was the way I sort of found out I'm pretty sure it was Rome. I needed to add a lot of information, and I didn't really want it to have like a to be ordering stuff for me. So I just found out if you just add in a clear break again, like you would with any paragraph, but just make sure it's indented enough to have it in that list. Okay, so that's good for nesting. So one more thing in lists is checkboxes. So you have checkboxes like this, and it will show. So a checkbox would just be a hyphen, and not like a closed bracket. It needs to have a space in it, and then that will have it as an item in that list. And then to check it off, put an X in there. So you notice on here I can't actually edit any of these, but I think in stack edit it will update it for me. So let's just go back to stack edit here, get rid of all this, and then start checking some stuff off. You'll notice that over on the left here, it's updating the Markdown for me. So you'll see things like this in GitHub, and I'm going to try and find. It's been a shameless plug here for MDX Embed. Sorry for the light theme, everyone, but there is a big list on here for this umbrella issue for Hacktoberfest. So MDX Embed, this is like the whole reason what I'm doing this primer for, is to get everyone comfortable with Markdown, and then sort of MDX is the sort of next what's the word for it, iteration of Markdown. But I'll come on to that in another talk. So I'll talk about checkboxes. So you might see these in GitHub quite often. So you notice we've got some items in here, and you notice this hamburger at the side here. This means I can move and order this stuff around, and I can also check stuff off because I'm a contributor on the repository. You notice that we've got a lot of these are all individual issues we've got set up for Hacktoberfest. And then once we have someone to chime in and say, yeah, I'd like to do that, we're putting their name against them and checking them off the list. And then you'll also notice in the projects over here, this will gradually get ticked off the more and more we do as we go through it. So checklists, very useful in GitHub and for other things as well. Cool. Lists, unordered lists, ordered lists, checkboxes, line breaks. So you noticed earlier, I did like line 1, 2, and 3. I have them separate here, but the parser is just like, this is all just one line. So if you absolutely have to have stuff like that in here, you can use HTML to do that in your breaks, and then it'll just move them down into new lines. Just one little tip if you need to use that sort of, if they absolutely have to be that close together in your sort of document. Okay, horizontal rules. So you'll notice when I did like a H1, it comes with its own horizontal rule, but you might want to have breaks in your documentation, which is where you can just use 3 lines for hyphens. And there's also asterisks, which would be another break, and underscores, which is another break. So 1, and it's backwards, 2, 3. But if I hit save, Prettier has decreed that we use hyphens for underscores. So just so you know that you might see either underscores or asterisks in Markdown. You might come across it in the wild, so just so you know that. Right, another thing is block quotes. Block quotes. This, you might see these where you're replying to someone in like a forum or something. You'll see it in Slack and Discord. So they're cool. This is just the angle bracket, the right angle bracket. And if you put in a break there, then that means that you can put stuff in between here. So if you need spaces in your block quotes, then remember to use the angle brackets throughout. You can do some nice pretty things with those. If you're using your own styles in for your Markdown. But that's like a bit of an advanced topic. Okay, code blocks. So where are we? Let's go back to my slides. I don't think I've done anything for code blocks. Nope. Right. So code blocks is something I use a lot in my digital garden where I write about stuff. So you can do block code. You can sort of highlight code in two different ways. So there's the inline code. Which you denote with just the one backtick. Wow, struggling to write console log here. Okay, and then finish it off, and then you'll notice that the parser here is put it into, give it a different sort of formatting. But if you want to do like a larger code block, then you use something called code fence, which is 3 backticks. So just as it is like this, you can put in normal text. And then if I put in this code block here, this console log, you'll get some form of syntax highlighting depending on your Markdown parser. So for me and my my editor, that's not great. But for ones like, let's just check stack edit again, see what it looks like on here. Don't get it on there either. Okay, let's try something different. Let's try var. There. Right, it doesn't work on that. Oh, maybe if I actually used the JavaScript tag, I'm so sorry. Right, so yeah, it didn't actually show anything there because the Markdown parser, which is used in here, which I believe is GitHub flavored Markdown, which I should have covered right at the beginning of the talk. I did say there was different types of Markdown. I think this is a feature which has been added into GitHub flavored Markdown. So you can add it like this, JS. If I wanted to do a React component, wow, should I do that? Live code that? I don't think so. Let's just try and grab one from somewhere. Right, it's an MDX. That sounds like a good one to do. Right, and then if I change this to JSX, we don't get any different formatting. So that was my attempt to show how sort of React syntax highlighting would be on here, but it seems to be the same. So anyway, code blocks, code fences. There's a lot which is supported for this. And let's go turn my nightlight off here because my screen's dimming. Sorry about that. Yeah, there are many different types of sort of annotations you can use on the fences here. They're called code fences. So just bear that in mind if you want to have sort of nice syntax highlighting on any of your sort of code blocks you're putting in your Markdown. Cool. How are we doing for time? Wow, 10 minutes left. Right. What next? You know what? I sincerely didn't think I would fill up a whole hour with talking about Markdown. So, wow. Right. We're coming to the end now. So we've got tables, I think, is it. Right, okay. So let's do tables. Right, tables are the one thing in Markdown which I find a bit weird. But let's just go over this now. So you have your content, which you surround with a pipe either side. And then you would have your, so that'd be the headings, apologies. And then you would have your content underneath it. So it's column 1, row 1. And then how you bring that together in Markdown is using pipes again, but then within the pipes, you use hyphens. So it's one hyphen here. It's not going to do anything with a space either side, I guess. And let's just do some copy pasta, which I can't even do. Right, there you go. So all these is sort of aligned to the left here. If I hit save, you notice that Prettier has done its thing and sort of formatted this all nicely for me. You just need to have one hyphen. To align stuff, you use the colon. So to align stuff to the right, colon on the right. By default, I think it's colon to the left to align stuff to the left. To have stuff centered, it's a colon either side. So let's just do that. And wow, what have I done? Wowee. That's the other thing with Prettier as well. It just decides it's going to do whatever if you make a mess. So that's not great here. It can look really good. Let's just take a look at it on my blog here, and then we'll go to my blog. Sorry, my digital garden. I don't call it a blog anymore. And right for the bottom, tables. Tables. Right, you can add your own format and stuff, and on hover. And I think GitHub does a good job of it as well. But that's a whole other sort of can of onions to get into with styling tables and stuff. Okay, I think block quotes, did block quotes, code blocks did that, Markdown tables did that. I think that's it. So I've spoke for a long time. I've got quite a hoarse throat now. I worked out why I was on a 5-second delay. I had the actual talk tab open in another tab. So sorry about that. I closed that earlier on. So I think that's it for the talk. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask? Anyone? Jennifer, anyone in? So I know someone on the stage. Anyone got any questions? So Royal Pashal, is that? So I didn't go into the tooling too much. So apologies about that. I was going to use like a fresh install of VS Code, so it wasn't too confusing to everyone. But let's just quickly go over some of the tools I use for Markdown. So I'm presuming what was doing the ordering for me of the lists when I was going through lists is, I'm going to guess it's this, Markdown all in one. Which does that sort of thing for you. Let's close this preview here. So that's quite handy for that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm presuming it was that. So apologies if I sort of misled anyone with how that was, what that was doing. How are we doing for time? Oh, I got 7 minutes. So I hope that answered your question, Royal. So let's just take a quick look. David D, checkboxes update in the Markdown. Yeah, checkboxes are pretty cool. Like for the GitHub issue we went through, it's really handy when you're on like a large project and you've got a lot of issues which need to be checked off. You can put them all into a project on GitHub, and it will sort of show them in a progress bar for you. It's a really good tool. And so, sorry, yeah, I spoke about Zettelcasting, yeah. So it's just a way of taking notes, which I find really useful. I sort of put them all into, I mean, if you go to Foam, let's just try and find the repo for that. Right. It's a light theme, so apologies for your eyes. But this is Foam. Just try and find the GitHub repo. So yeah, this will just give you a like a recommended set of extensions to install, and that is all it is, just a list of extensions. And then you sort of you create your own repository and start recording your notes in it. So yeah, with regards to like the second brain, or Zettelcasting is what it's called, I use that daily, take notes, put it in there. I've got it in a Git repository, like privately hosted on GitHub, and just use that for putting like stuff I'm going to write together. It's really handy. Yeah, let's just crack it open and show everyone. So I'm just going to skip screens here, and this would be it. Let's just bring this down and bring out the extensions. Oh, here they are. So I think if I just go to explore here, yeah, VS Code, basically you just get this recommended list of extensions here to use, and one of them, which is really good, is Markdown links. So let's just can't really save that at the moment. Let's just close that side panel and go graph, show graph, and then I'm hoping I can just say close that and that and that and that and that. Well, let's try and put this like here, there. No, there we go. It took a while to render, but you might have noticed in some of the Markdown now, I was just tagging stuff up. So I'd have stuff tagged with like a project idea, and then you could sort of go to like my daily notes, which is here, and then anything related to that, I've got like a tag against. So this is just to help you sort of bring together sort of certain different aspects of notes you've taken in the past. So it helps you just collate that information together.